Matt Odette, head coach of the Seattle Thunderbirds, joins us now. Matt, let's cut right to the chase here. The Thunderbirds, the defending Western Conference champions here in the WHL. As we speak right now, we're plus minus 10 days away from the start of the regular season. What have you seen in terms of energy from your group, in terms of excitement as you've rolled through from training camp into, a trio of preseason games last weekend up in Everett? What's everybody feeling like as you guys get geared up here to get things going for real next weekend?
Yeah, the vibe is really good. All our guys came back in really good shape and ready to go. I think overall there's a real sense of confidence and belief in our group that we can have a really good season and build off the playoff run that we had last year. And at the same time, we know it's not going to be easy. Despite having the confidence, we know that we have to put in the work.
Does your group maybe kind of relish being the hunted this year as opposed to, kind of climbing up the chain and growing as a group? You've had a fairly young team the last couple of years, Matt, but, now that you have kind of gone through a deep playoff run with this group, I mean, there's no secrets anymore about the Seattle Thunderbirds.
Yeah, I think, every season's difficult. We don't play in the U.S. division, is difficult perennially. We have a good division. We know that. Like you said, we're not going to sneak up on anybody this year. We have to be ready for our opposition's best effort each and every night. And, our guys are ready for that. They know that. The message so far, like I said, it's nice to have this confidence and belief, but, there's a lot of work and a lot of time and effort that has to go into this. And if we take our foot off the gas, it's not going to go well for us.
When you look at your team, there's a few moving parts and a few guys that are at NHL camps, but certainly a deep returning roster for your club. But when you look at your group as a whole, what kind of strengths have you guys as a staff maybe identified that you're really excited to work about with this coming season?
Well, I think it's similar to last year. I think it's our depth, despite losing some very key players, Rabinski, Sveikovsky, Bauer, Rempe, etc. We feel like we return a good group of players, lots of depth and talent up front. Our goaltending is obviously very solid. Those two areas would be strengths of ours. Our D is a little bit on the younger side, but we feel there's an abundance of talent and a lot of upside there. Led by Kevin Korchinski. So we do like the overall depth of our team. We feel like we'll be able to score some goals this year and, with our goaltending, be able to keep it out. And, we'll continue to develop our defensemen to play both sides of the ice and pick up the slack for some of the guys that we are missing on the back end from last year.
You talk about scoring goals. There's a very prominent new face on your roster with respect to putting up numbers. The fifth leading scorer in the WHL last year, Kyle Krinkovic, comes over from Saskatoon. How's he settling into Seattle, and what have you seen from him so far?
He's been great. Obviously carries a pretty good resume, coming to us. A guy that can put the puck in the back of the net. He's got experience in the league. I think will complement our other skilled players. He'll have some good players to play with. And help provide that scoring depth that we want. He's a guy that has aspirations to play in the NHL one day. He'd like to sign an NHL contract, and with some team success and that message of having some team success leading to individual success will hopefully we can help him achieve his goals.
You talk about team success and. It was probably somewhat of a correlation, but you look at the talented draft eligible players you had on your roster last year, certainly were deserving of attention even before you went on the run that you did, Matt. But let's talk about the four guys that were picked in the NHL draft. You start with Kevin Korchinski. Reed Schaefer goes in the first round as well. And I mean, is that maybe an extension of team success, breeding individual success? And as an organization, how happy were you guys to see those players rewarded on draft day?
Yeah, it was great how it turned out. We were preaching that message all year long. team first. Our team success will lead to individual success. The rising tide lifts all ships, and our guys really bought into that message. And carry that into the playoffs, and for that to come to fruition with our guys having success at the draft, our guys getting invites and attention from Hockey Canada, that attributes to that type of team success. And our guys echo that message moving forward, and we know that from that experience last year we can do the same this year. So the goal is to have that team success and can continue to have those NHL draft picks.
Thomas Milic and Scott Ratzlaff, you mentioned your goaltending a little bit earlier in this conversation, but boy, I mean, Thomas, we all saw what he did during the regular season, ended the playoffs for your group last year, and Scott, a guy that burst onto the scene, really, you might say, in August with Canada and the Holinka Gretzky Cup tournament in Red Deer. I mean, boy, they just seem like a pretty good tandem. And I asked Thomas as well about this. It just seems like, those two guys are both kind of team first guys, but at the same time, they've got that competitive drive and kind of want to push each other too.
Yeah, it's certainly a nice luxury to have two guys that can compete at that type of level. It's the opportunity for us to roll out great goaltending 68 games of the year. So, like you said, that it creates that competitive atmosphere. Both guys looking to earn more net time. And they're both, great kids that really support each other and, help each other get better as goaltenders. So, it's a nice environment to have, as far as development, and, obviously good for our team to have, that caliber of goaltending.
My last one for you, Matt. We've talked a lot about your veteran players, but there's a couple of younger guys that I want to ask you about. One being T.J. Gilla, who, of course, was a first-round pick in December, and the other, Grayson Sawchin, who was the U.S. prospect priority draft selection from Red Deer that your team acquired recently. How have those two guys performed here in the outset of the regular season, and kind of what are you seeing from them as hockey players and as Thunderbirds very early in their WHL careers?
Yeah, they made a fantastic impression so far. We had a chance to see Tej for a few games last year, and he was very impressive. He got an assist his first shift. Just has a level of maturity as a hockey player that you don't see from that age group. He's had a really good off season where he's taken some big strides physically. He's grown. He's gotten a lot stronger and faster. So I think he's ready to make an immediate impact with us as a 16-year-old and have a great season. As far as Grayson Sawchin, obviously an extremely talented player that we're really excited to add to the mix. Complements our other skill guys that we have and just adds to that scoring depth that we want to have moving forward. And certainly made an impression this past weekend, 4 points in his first game, 4 assists. So he's the type of guy that sees the ice very well, can distribute the puck, can shoot the puck. And he's got that competitiveness and that grit that, we like, on the Thunderbirds. So, a good mix of skill and grit.